Imagine if we took Damon Salvatore, one of the most dangerous, devious, badass vampires in the Vampire Diaries series, the man who killed hundreds of people on a whim, won against original vampires that were 100 times stronger than him, and pulled off the impossible time and time again with only wits, charisma, and a large sprinkle of crazy. And we casually dropped him into the Twilight universe, right in the middle of Forks, where the supernatural creatures are totally different and possibly stronger than what he's used to. Could Damon possibly be able to survive against forces like the Cullens and the werewolves that dwell in Forks? For the sake of not having a 10-hour video, I'll only include two main factions in this scenario, the Cullens and the werewolves. And to give the most accurate answer, I'll be using real confirmed data from both franchises, take everything I know about Twilight and everything I know about Damon, including strengths, speeds, weaknesses, experience, or even mindset which could affect the battle. I'll use all of this to put Damon through a 1v1 gauntlet against the Cullens and the werewolf to see if he can actually come out alive. Damon's only win condition is to defeat the enemy and don't die. But before we start, let's actually gauge the strength of his opponents. Firstly, you got the Cullens, a family of vegetarian vampires who people often, even myself, call soft versions of vampires. For one, because they sparkle in the sun like glitter balls, and two, they don't eat humans. But to be honest, none of that matters because they're actually deadly as shit. They possess immense speed, being able to move 120 plus miles per hour at the slowest, strength greater than that of a Vampire Diaries vampire, being able to lift up to 50 tons, martial arts skills to the point they're knocking off heads with one blow, and next level perfect choreographed attack in the midst of fights. But the most worrisome thing about the Cullens is that a few of them actually have supernatural gifts other than vampirism that could give them a big edge in most battles. Like Edward being able to read minds, Alice seeing into the future, Jasper manipulating emotions, and Bella having her mental shield which could block mind influencing type power. The rest of the Cullens are still powerful but only have enhanced abilities and natural gifts from being vampires. Now onto the werewolf side of things. The werewolves of the Twilight universe are much bigger than the wolves we see in Vampire Diaries. They're able to move around 100 plus miles per hour and they easily tower over a normal human. These predators are almost more ferocious and deadlier than any werewolf in the Vampire Diaries, only lacking in the speed category. But even so, if you were even to get bit by one of these wolves one time, you'd be dead on the spot, missing a big chunk of your body. Jacob Black, the alpha wolf and a leader of the wolves, can move around 160 plus miles per hour, almost keeping up with the fastest vampires in his verse. He also has crazy endurance and an outstanding regeneration factor, which let him recover from wounds that would have killed most other people, making him an extremely dangerous force to be reckoned with overall. Now, even though most of us already know Damon is a pretty strong force to be reckoned with, I'll still do a very quick overview of Damon to dive into the actual specifics of how powerful he really is. Although seeming like a reckless hothead, Damon actually possesses an abnormal IQ, being able to outsmart enemies who live much longer than him with more experience, or being able to cook up devious yet genius plans on the spot to one up an enemy, giving him a good advantage against most foes. He is extremely fast, faster than any Twilight vampire, surprisingly being able to move around base supersonic speeds or 780 plus miles per hour, being undetectable by the human eyes when zipping around. Damon is also quite strong physically, being able to tear off heads with only his bare hands, punch holes through walls, and fling people across rooms like toys. But the thing that makes him the most dangerous is his ability to fight with maximum ruthlessness and brutality while being totally unpredictable, making it extremely hard to find an opening or chance to beat him. So now that we know what Damon's up against and how strong he really is, let's see if he can tear his way through Twilight and actually come out alive. The first matchup will be Damon versus Edward Cullen. Edward is known to be and factually the fastest out of all the Cullens, being able to move up to 500 miles per hour at his top speed, almost as fast as Damon but still a bit off. He possesses the ability to read minds, making him almost impossible to sneak or trick, which could pose a problem for Damon since most of his moves may already be predicted. Edward, being the fastest, is able to read people's mind, and also not to mention a skilled combatant trained by the best fighter the Cullens have to offer, and being by default physically stronger than mostly all Vampire Diary vampires, being able to lift up to 50 tons should give him a decent advantage against Damon. The only problem is Damon is a perfect counter to Edward's power, since he's always known to act on impulse. So that only leaves Edward with speed, combat skills, and natural vampiric strength against Damon. Even being left with that, I can still see Edward posing a decent threat to Damon. He's sure to still catch Damon a couple times due to him being well trained, and pair that with his abnormal strength, he'd do some serious damage. But still, that wouldn't be enough to quite stop Damon, since Damon absolutely outmatches Edward in every single way possible except strength and hand-to-hand combat. Even if we were to give Edward the leeway and say he could read Damon's every thought, Damon would still be too fast for him to react efficiently to every move, resulting in Edward being on the ropes until he finally get caught in something lethal. Damon wins this round with medium difficulty. Next on the matchup is Jasper. Jasper, unlike Edward, may actually pose a higher threat to Damon, as Jasper is known to be the second fastest Cullen, but what's more is that Jasper is another Cullen with a unique gift, a gift to control people's emotion, which is extremely overpowered. Meaning, for example, he can make you feel relaxed and unmotivated to extremely terrified at any time, which could play a very big hand amidst the battle. The only con to this ability is that he has to be in close range of his target for it to work. Jasper also has another big advantage up his sleeve. He is also absolutely the best fighter the Cullens have to offer, having plenty of experience after fighting and dispose of plenty newborn vampires, which are known to be the strongest state of vampires in the Twilight universe. Since speed is almost irrelevant against Damon, Jasper's supernatural gift to control emotions and his combat skills will be the deciding factor. And that could be a big problem to Damon, because Damon doesn't know these vampires contain abilities. Now, I can see Damon toying around with Jasper for a bit, mocking him, but then eventually going for the kill. But Jasper, having a high fighting IQ, knowing the only way to beat Damon, since he's so much faster than him, is to lure Damon into going for the kill and time exactly when Damon will be close enough to be affected by his ability. But the thing is, even if Jasper were to catch Damon with his ability, he would still be put down shortly after. The first reason is that Jasper's ability would work on Damon, but only to a certain extent, since his ability only affects your emotion and does not take away your free will. So if Jasper catches Damon and makes him feel something like extreme terror, Damon would feel extreme terror but still go for the kill instantly without a second thought. That's just Damon personality. And that leads to the second reason why Jasper would lose. Out of everything Jasper has fought, he has never faced an opponent as vile and unhinged as Damon. So unknowingly, he will rely too much on his ability to control Damon's behavior, when actually Damon is the most uncontrollable person you can run into, leading to Jasper's demise. Damon wins medium diff. Alice is next on the list, and this may be Damon's most difficult fight yet. Alice Cullen is a skilled martial artist, only second to Jasper in terms of fighting. Now pair that skill with her supernatural ability to see into the future and you got a real threat. Alice moves around 100+ miles per hour, making her slower than Damon and some of the other Cullens, but it still could be made up with her supernatural agility paired with her supernatural ability. She can predict a number of future outcomes before even stepping onto the battlefield, as well as predicting opponent's move even in the midst of battle. Yet, as overpowered as that sound, it does have a few major flaws. Her power gives her the ability to glimpse into possible futures. The future visions she sees are not set in stone and can be changed instantly if a person changes their decision or goes a different route. Also, if a vision is very intense, then it can leave her stunned, even paralyzed, leaving her extremely vulnerable. But Damon, being the type to do things on instinct, would make the future she imagined narrow and almost a certain guarantee of happening, since Damon is always known to be set on his decisions without mind change. And Alice, having a very good fighting IQ, would know she needs to predict Damon's moves ahead of time due to how fast he is, which would give her the opportunity to counter almost everything Damon throws at her. I can confidently say that Alice will put up a good fight against Damon, but once Damon sees she's a formidable opponent and is countering every single move he throws, he'll actually start to think and become extremely unpredictable. Damon, having an above average IQ and also a complete nutcase, will probably have 100 different sick ways in his mind to dispose of Alice, which will directly counter Alice's abilities and overload her with numerous possible gruesome futures, leading to her being stunned and caught in a lethal attack. Damon wins high mid diff. Now for the the most awaited, Bella. Bella's transformation into a vampire made her an absolute anomaly out of the Cullens. Her possessing newborn powers, giving her super speed which could rival and keep up with Edward, to even being stronger than Emmett, who is known to be the most physically powered Cullen due to his enhanced strength. Vampire Bella also has a supernatural ability shield that blocks out all mind powers used upon her, making supernatural gifted vampires who use mental powers or tricks useless in her presence. Bella was never a martial artist, but her superhuman strength and other newborn perks makes up for all of it, making her a bona fide threat. The only issue is that Damon outclasses her in literally every single aspect except strength. Damon has 150 years of actual killing experience over Bella, who is really just a super strong newborn vamp. Pairing his experience with his abnormal speed and strength, Bella simply doesn't stand a chance in hell against him. Bella's ability is also useless towards Damon for the simple fact that his only mental power is compulsion, which doesn't even work on vampires anyway, so he never think of using it. The only issue Damon might have dealing with her is her abnormal strength, which could tear him apart if he slips up and get caught. But other than that, Damon slams Bella low difficulty. Now for the rest of the Cullens, Ismay, Carzal, Emmett, and Rosalie, they're just honorable mentions at this point because none of them literally stands a chance against Damon, so there's no point of getting into details and wasting time over the obvious. So for the werewolves, instead of going down the line and putting Damon against each wolf from the pack, which would be extremely long and kind of useless, we'll put him against the wolf pack leader, Jacob Black. Since if David can win against the pack leader, then he could certainly win against what the rest of the pack has to offer. Now, Jacob doesn't have any special supernatural gifts other than turning into a werewolf, but that really doesn't matter when you're a towering wolf stronger and faster than most vampires and the baddest of all wolves on the whole Twilight series. I saved Jacob for last because he is the one that has the absolute best chance of defeating Damon. Although he is not as nearly fast as Damon, only running around 160 miles per hour in wolf form, he has enhanced durability, endurance, and regeneration, making him an absolute tank. He can regenerate from things that would normally kill anyone else, meaning Damon will have a very hard time putting him down. Jacob beats a Vampire Diary werewolf in all aspects except for speed, making this an extremely tricky battle. But for this battle, I can still see Damon coming out on top barely for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we seen slower and weaker Twilight vampires take down werewolves. And secondly, Damon is simply too fast and still has abnormal strength, which will still give him the edge. But like I mentioned, he will win by a small margin due to Jacob's abnormal enhanced abilities like endurance, strength, and regeneration. Damon wins high difficulty. So at the end of the day, Damon would be able to survive if put in the Twilight universe due to having more meaningful advantages over his enemies. His speed, mindset, experience, and brutality would be something the Twilight universe simply wouldn't be ready for or could handle even with their supernatural gifts and enhanced abilities, leading to them falling short and taking a loss. But that's as far as 1v1s. Now if they all were to come together as one as they did in the movies versus just Damon, then that would be a different story entirely. But then I have to go bring in what the rest of Vampire Diaries have to offer to make it fair, and they still will wipe the floor with Twilight. If you guys enjoyed today's video, leave a like and comment your thoughts down below. That's all I got for you guys today. I'll catch you later.